I have deposited in the county of Bedford 5,100 pounds of silver and 2,921 pounds of gold, securely packed in iron pots with iron covers. No difficulty will be had in finding it. The account of Thomas Beale.
According to the legend of the Beale fortune, a stately gentleman named Thomas Beale led a mining expedition somewhere in the deserts of New Mexico. Reports claim that Beale and his team dug up over $20 million worth of gold and silver. In secret, they spirited this vast fortune across the continental United States, its final resting place being that of the county of Bedford, Virginia. Fearing that he was now a target by suspicious onlookers and even by his fellow miners, Thomas Beale buried his fortune in, as of now, an unknown location. In order to facilitate the later finding of his treasure, Beale decided to reveal its location in a series of 3 mysterious ciphers, after which Thomas Beale was promptly never heard from again. In 1869, nearly 50 years after Beale disappeared, a wealthy Virginian socialite whose identity has been lost to history managed to solve one of Beale's encoded ciphers. Studying the legend of Beale's fortune in depth, this individual followed a series of location keys to conclude that the answer to solving the hidden ciphers was hidden within the Declaration of Independence. By numbering the first letter of every word within the sacred document, the socialite then replaced the corresponding letter within the parameters of the actual cipher. This is what cracked the first code. The fully decoded message details exactly what Beale found in his expeditions to New Mexico, in excess of 5,000 pounds of silver and almost 3,000 pounds of gold, and that Beale had hidden it somewhere in the foothills of Bedford, Virginia. This caused a stir of excitement, and the race was on to try and solve the last 2 ciphers. Over the next 2 centuries, many have tried to crack the ciphers. Nearly all have failed. With the notable exception of maybe 2 parties. One consisted of the Toney brothers along with their father-in-law, Earl Boggs, and the other being that of Wilbur Swift, a former computer programmer. Both parties were absolutely certain that they had successfully deciphered the remaining 2 clues left by Beale. According to Earl Boggs and the Toney brothers, the second and third cipher pinpointed to a set of 5 specific geographical markers located all around Bedford. In the spring of 1988, the search party claimed that they had identified 4 of these markers and were searching for the 5th and final point that would ultimately lead them to the treasure. Earl Boggs commented that in discovering the previous 4 markers, they had discovered time period specific clues left by Thomas Beale himself, which convinced the men that they were on the right track. During the filming of the Unsolved Mysteries segment, the Toneys and Boggs dug up an old carriage rod that they believed to be the 5th and final clue. However, despite this, they were left empty-handed, unable to locate the fabled iron pots told of by Beale. Undeterred, the trio carried on, convinced that they had to re-examine the topographical markers left at the 4 other locations. Needless to say, they did not find the treasure. In opposition to the Toneys and Boggs, Wilbur Swift was convinced that he too had broken Beale's ciphers, and that the trio had it completely wrong. Swift had spent nearly $20,000 of his own money and, with his computer background, designed a special set of software parameters that he claimed was successful in solving the ciphers. Swift asserted that the decoded ciphers told to look for a specific type of rock formation on the opposite end of Bedford County to where the trio had been conducting their search. Swift located what he believed to be an odd-looking rock formation containing both a head and a face, of which the iron pots of treasure, as indicated by Beale, was located directly below. Swift had the location extensively excavated over a period of several months, but he too came up empty. When questioned about the validity of the Beale treasure, most residents of Bedford believe the story to be a complete fabrication. Many of them contend that Thomas Beale was nothing more than a showman and an expert in the art of the tall tale. However, they are happy to continue encouraging treasure seekers from all over to try their hand at finding Beale's lost fortune. They say it drums up a great tourist economy. What is the truth behind Thomas Beale and his lost fortune? Some say the fact that Beale himself completely disappeared shortly after encoding his ciphers is proof that his claims of gold and silver were not the feverish results of his own imagination, but that he really did find something in the hot sands of New Mexico in 1821. Whatever the truth, one thing is for certain. The legend of a lost treasure hidden by Thomas Beale, whose location is ingrained within the historic documents of America's founded republic, will continue to enthrall adventurers for many more years to come.